want me to summarize what we have done so far? But I think, let it go on. I think whoever wants to see YouTube is available. Otherwise, the group will get disoriented. So today's topic will be, let's talk about pharma. Anybody has any thoughts on pharma? Where do you see pharma going in the next 25 years? Where is the bulk of the opportunity?
Sir, my perspective is that pharma, largely we have been doing generic and branded generic business, even now. Having said that, if we think about domestic market, purely the Indian market, in the next 15-20 years, there will be price control and these challenges thrown across by the government. But looking at the population growth, looking at the ratio of doctor to patient, it's still very poor even in the domestic market. That, in my mind, leaves a room for a lot of new companies, new business models and new revenue generation. Once that revenue is generated, if even smaller or medium enterprises can rightly leverage the subsidy schemes of governments to innovate, that could be vertically integrated back from the API or intermediate segment, or even formulations to improvise the pharmacological profile of a drug. Those companies would be ideal for takeover by bigger companies, something similar to smaller software startups, which is a totally unexplored market as we speak, purely because clinical trial costs are too high for a medium company to afford. But if phase 1 or phase 2 could be researched by a smaller company and could be sold to a bigger company, I think, to keep it to perspective of an MSME, there can be a whole lot of room to do things over here. That aside, the generic and other businesses are limitless, even in domestic as well as exports. Southeast Asia is opening up in a big way. Africa, most of the people know here, is very big and still it's like a bottomless crevice.
Hello, my name is Akhil and I work for a company called Akhil Healthcare. We are into pharmaceuticals as well. So, like 2040, when we talk about like 16 years, 26 years from now, one good thing has happened worldwide, that is compulsory licensing. Okay. So, like recently in India, there is a company called Bayer. Bayer used to sell their anti-cancer for 1.8 lakhs per therapy. A small company called Natco in Hyderabad, they did reverse engineering and they came with the same molecule, and that molecule is available at 8,000 rupees per therapy. Okay. Natco is earning, right? Even at 8,000 rupees, Natco is earning huge. So, like 2040, and now even in US, the Hatch-Waxman Act, where the biggest value of pharmaceutical is, the Hatch-Waxman Act has gone, very popular in US. Indian company filing, there is a term called Para 4 filing in pharmaceuticals. What we do, we innovate. There is an innovator molecule. We Indians generally reverse engineer that innovated molecule, and they have an argument that, see, this is medicine and this is life-saving medicine. So, not everyone can afford the innovator's molecule. So, this is the same molecule which is at much lesser price. This is where the Indians are good at. If you see at like top 10 companies of Indian origin, like Sun Pharma is there, Ranbaxy is there, their majority of revenue, like I must say at least 40-45% of revenue comes from Para 4 filing. That is copying the innovators this thing, getting it legalized and serving the market at much lower rate. So this is where it is a start. Like reverse engineering is a start to innovation. I personally believe that. Then, like 10 years from now, Indian scientists would be capable enough to come up with their own molecules. So 2040 for pharmaceuticals, it would be drastic. Even with the when Dipyendu mentioned, Abhishek mentioned that there are so many regulation, price control regulation thrown up by the government to us. Last year, 345 molecules were drug price controlled. Okay? Even with those 345 molecules which serve the 70% of the pharmaceutical market share, that is a CAGR growth of 15% this year. So, in a way, it's a good sign.
Hi, my name is Bhavan Desai and I'm leading a company called Verinium Healthcare. So, as far as the innovation is concerned, the 3D printing technology in pharma is now a reality. Using the 3D technology, we can manufacture any therapy for any patient according to his need. So this, as far as innovation is concerned, 2040, which is quite a distant future, right now it is also available, but it is at a very hefty price tag. So when we go down 20 years, that price tag is going to come down significantly, and that can be a real viability that we can look at, because even though the medicines are the same, they work in a very different way in every individual. So when we talk about personalized medications, personalized therapy, the 3D technology, the 3D printing technology can be a viable, innovative step in pharma. So that was one point that I wanted to add to the conversation.
Can you give an example of the 3D printing that you talked about?
I don't know much about it. I've known it from a very theoretical perspective. I've studied it in my studies. Basically, using 3D printers, you can manufacture a drug in different shapes, sizes, because even the sizes matter. They affect where the drug is gonna take its place, action, the place of action, mode of action, where it's gonna onset. That is gonna be affected by that. Also, specialized targeted therapy, targeted effect, targeted release of the drug is a huge scope where 3D printing also comes into play.
See, it's like you have diabetes, hypothetically, right? So what doctor tries to do, they try to control your sugar. So they start off with the basic molecules, metformin. Now the problem with the today available fixed dosage is no matter you just require like 400 mg of metformin, but the tablet comes of 500 mg. So that 100 mg extra is not required in your body. So after the possibility of 3D printing, based on your blood glucose level, you can actually customize the quantities. Yeah, exactly. You can actually customize the combination. You can, as you rightly said, you can alter the pH where the drug needs to be dissolved in the body. That is very important. So after 3D printing, that would be very feasible.
And I do know of, I don't know the exact name, but I do know that one of the hospitals in US has already started this. They have a 3D printer in-house, and in very rare cases where the general medicines are not working, they do this for their patients. It's at very high cost, it comes at a very hefty price tag, but the process has already started. So this is a viable, innovative step in pharma industry in the coming future.
I think one application I have seen in 3D is scaffolding and actually building the tissues. They are actually talking about building kidneys, building livers, building pancreas, and that's where the research is going on. And I think if somebody is really interested, I think it can be used. I think it's just a field which is evolving. If somebody can just latch on that, I think in 25 years, the kind of market it will have, because so many aging people and so much of money floating around. So those are the sort of areas which should emerge big. Question is, do you really understand how to do that? But I think once you get into that, things sort of can fall in place.
just continuing the same, 3D printed or controlled medicines already taken into the body, those chips will control like what doses to be given at that point of time, which might be dynamic from time perspective. When you need it, how much you need it, and at what position in the body you need it. So that kind of integrated solution can be done with the help of pharmaceutical as well as from electronics or medical devices from point of view.
Construction,
One area which is going to be huge, huge, huge.
The way to think about 2040, I'm just making a general comment. I'm not in the pharma nor in medical technology, but in a general sense, should we not start from 2040 rather than starting from now? Because extrapolating from where you are is always going to be very, very difficult in terms of keeping the mind. So, if you really look at 2040, and that is really the frame of reference, then one has to say what are the kind of social trends going to be, what are going to be the demographic trends, and therefore what will be needed then, and what are the technologies of promise. Like for example, if I was to take your last comment and extrapolate it in this framework, then is to say that organ which is not necessarily somebody else's, but somebody that is using 3D technology, made it for yourself, if that is something that will be a common thing, then what are the technologies that allow me to do that? And that is a direction. If one was to take that direction, then that is the direction where one has to say what are the kind of investments that will be required, what would be the kind of market would be there, etc., etc., etc. So, would it not be, like, more a question, when we discuss various sectors, should we not say, okay, what are going to be the kind of, perhaps can create a frame of reference?
Yeah, we did cover that in the first seminar. We were not there.
Okay.
So we did talk about, like we said, customized medicine is big. Like medical clothing. Another area we talked about. There are so many sectors we talked about, saying that what will people need.
So you have discussed.
That's right. So I think let's move on to the construction as an activity, because construction I think is big. It's the biggest of the industry on a global basis. And I think till we want to live, I think roof has to be there. So I think this is one sector which is like at the top of the economic chain. So what kind of societal needs would exist in 2040? Anybody wants to sort of dream about it, all auto-controlled houses, all air-conditioned houses, color changing walls to, maybe photovoltaic outside, So I think there are so many ideas which one could think of, and where the today's technology may guide us. So I think if there are any.
I think one sector in construction which has already opened up is prefab houses. Of course, it's not revolutionary because it's already existing even today. There are huge changes, like that industry has grown massively in the last 5 to 10 years. However, I still see, if we're actually targeting a certain volume of business, say if we're talking about 100 and 500 crore businesses in the next 20 years, I think there's ample of scope even in the technology that is currently present today. Of course, keeping that in mind, even a small innovation in prefab structures can easily cross that target revenue or the target that we're actually talking about. Like for example, today in India, or say in Gujarat, when we talk about prefab structures, I think there are two reasons. One is the cost and one is the time. I see a huge opportunity in those prefab structures which are even aesthetically more promising. Like today, people prefer veneer. But veneer takes a lot of time to actually be made, applied, polished. Probably a higher end laminate. So when we talk about prefab structures, it's not just the walls and everything, but it's a lot of other things which are much smaller. But the market is of course huge. So we can probably think in that direction when you talk about construction industry.
It's likely that by 2040 we would be still in prefabricated houses and structures, but maybe not necessarily just for this planet.
I think my general view on the construction industry is you are basically going to be dealing with a society which is going to be very rich, 10% of the population. So you will have a segment which will require a lot of customization, and that's something which Indians can be good at. We can actually, having that ability of customization, and that's where we can get in. So very easy to imagine that you would be able to develop customized designs, develop customized fabrication, develop customized artwork, develop customized construction technique, and create a unique experience for the house owner. So I think that's one segment which could be very large, and it could, though it may be 10% of the population, but they may control 50% of the wealth. So that's something which I think we should look at, and whether it is I'm just looking at an assembly operation right now. Then you can also look at backward integration in that. So what it takes to whatever the area which you feel is possible to backward integrate. Second area would be the low cost housing which you said, which could be again a brute efficiency. So I'm not really sure that unless you are ops wise very good, then you should go after that kind of a segment. So depending on your own strength, one can choose different segments. One area which is very interesting, I'll just share with you, if somebody wants to pick up and do work. See, today all the reinforced concrete is always with basically iron bars which are reinforced. Lafarge has tried with iron fibers which are added, and they have basically tried to flexibilize the cement, and now they at least have proven on the ground that compositions can be built where flexibility and strength can be built without reinforcement. And I think this can be a huge game changer. Now they have not really succeeded because they have not been able to control the particle size, the morphological, requirement, consistency of the requirement. But this is something which one can do basically with proper control on branding technology, proper control on this. And if you're really not looking at those high quality standards, because in India we can start with a little less standard but something effective. Because our population is going to be rural. So even if your strength is not so high, you must be the people want convenience and people want it fast. So this is another interesting area which you can do. One area which you need to also look at is sand. Sand is going to end at one point. And using silt or the earth material as a substitute of sand would be an interesting area. So that's again a huge opportunity. You are talking about billions in protection industry also. In like construction, what I have seen, today we are building houses, we are tearing it apart in maybe 50 years. Now can that be in 100 years, 200 years, 500 years? So can the technologies be built where you are actually able to assure people that with this technology, this is the life cycle which is expected. So maybe over a period of time, there actually can be a very standardized housing where people will not have to change again and again. The interiors can change, but the exterior box can remain same forever. So this is something again to be looked at. To answer those questions, I think the backward integration can start very quickly. Yeah.
I read a newspaper article the other day about some companies in China that are trying to coat the exterior of buildings to absorb pollutants so that buildings can help in some way towards reducing the smog in cities and things like that. So there could be something to explore there.
My only question to that, do you expect in 2040 people will be allowed to pollute?
Ideally not, but it might take time.
Anybody else wants to comment on that construction? Yeah.
I think if we talk about 3D printing in the pharma industry to build tablets, I think 3D printing houses and buildings, I think it's